man. Welcome to the Value Podcast. I told you all valuable
Mm,
people attract people of value. I'm Jamel Jackson, your relationship mechanic. I focus on repairing, evaluating, and giving you the tools you need to maintain healthy relationships. I like to always make this declaration, whether y'all believe it or not. This is the number one podcast for relationships in the world. Man, I got my brother on here, Quest Green, the marriage. I
you
don't know
know,
what to say, bro. I'm I'm honored, really. Every time we get on the phone, man, I'm honored.
you on it.
I'm honored that God has blessed me with this amazing brother in my life. You know, sometimes he's a mentor, sometimes he's a brother, sometimes he's a person I'm sharpening my arrow with.
Hey, Paul said to be all things to all people.
Yeah, yeah. So, man, question. Just briefly, tell the people what you're doing. What you doing out here, man?
Oh man,
Who is this guy?
I am a father. I am a husband. I am a friend, a servant of God, and a friend to man.
Mhm.
Um, what I do professionally, I'm a professional marriage coach. Man, my soul and heart's desire is to make sure that marriages, move wherever you may be in the spectrum, from shaky to good, from good to great. Ultimately, I want to see all marriages be phenomenal. And although I want them to be phenomenal, I want people to understand that phenomenal just don't drop in your lap. You
Mm.
feel me? It takes work, right? And if you work, you know what I'm saying, then you can like really experience everything that marriage is supposed to be, which is supposed to be the most fulfilling, the most satisfying, the most gratifying relationship on the face of the earth outside of your relationship with God. So that's what I do, man. I make sure we get them on point and keep them on point.
Nice. And being that you said that today, we touching on a chapter from my book, the first chapter
Mm.
entitled Building Blocks.
Oh, indeed.
And this, what's interesting is when I wrote the book, it was it was God's wisdom. I gotta always highlight that because
Mm.
it started with building blocks, and I believe the best thing to start relationships on, whether it's friendships, family, business, significant other,
Hmm.
especially significant other, is the foundation. What are we building on?
Yeah. Yeah.
I got some definitions on here. I got some questions because
Yeah.
I want to make sure we're doing this thing sharp and precise.
Yeah.
So foundation, we know what it means, but by
Yeah.
definition, it says something such as an idea, a
Yeah.
principle, or a
Mhm.
fact
Yeah.
that provides support for something.
Hmm.
Something such as an idea, principle, or a fact that provides support for something.
Hmm.
So, what's the first word that comes to you, Quest, when you hear the word foundation? Outside of the definition I described, what comes to your mind right when I say foundation?
Build.
Build.
That's the first word that comes to mind is build.
Hmm.
You feel me? Um, there are a couple of words that come to mind, but the reason why build comes to mind as we talk within the context of relationship is because when you talk about foundation, you talk about something that you're going to build on. You don't set a foundation just for the purposes of setting a foundation. And when I
Hmm.
read the word of God, when he put the first relationship and the first marriage in place, which was Adam and Eve, he didn't tell them, thou shalt not. He didn't tell them, you know what I'm saying, remember. He didn't tell them nothing that you see in the Ten Commandments, no laws. He said four things to them: be fruitful, multiply, subdue the earth, have dominion. That's what he told them. Now, he didn't tell them to do that individually, he told them to do that together. And when he told them to do that together, the first thing that comes to mind is like, okay, not only are we supposed to be in this relationship and love, but we're supposed to build something together. That's that. When you hear those words, be fruitful, multiply, subdue the earth, have dominion, that's synonymous with building something. So when you say foundation, that's the first thing that comes to my mind is that we got to build something, because you don't build a foundation just for the purposes of building a foundation. What is the foundation for? What is the purpose of the foundation? To hold up or to give support to whatever you're about to build on.
Why is it so important? Why is the foundation structure so important?
Okay. I, I want to do that, but I want to take the excerpt from your book, chapter one,
Let's do
right?
it.
Like right there in the first chapter, in the first paragraph, you said, although I was ready, if the conditions of the soil was not ready, there was nothing being built at all. I'm going to say it one more time. Although I was ready, because you were excited about what you were about to do in terms of the work. You were excited about what you were about to build. But you said, I was ready. Hammer was in place, nails in place, all the tools that I needed were in place. But you said, although I was ready, if the conditions of the soil was not ready, there was nothing being built at all. No matter how excited I was about building, there were many elements that factored into the process of starting. I'm not sure if you have ever built anything outside, but the climate plays an important role in each step of the plan. There would be days where we could not build due to inclement weather conditions. The most important part of the planning phase was establishing a solid foundation. This is what the entire house was going to be built upon. If the phase that required the builder to be very meticulous, and this phase required no room for foolishness from anyone who was involved. And you asked me, why is the foundation important? It's a principle. And although the situations change, the principles stay the same. I'm from New York, right? In Manhattan, before we had, the World Trade bombing, like we had two, it's like the glory of New York, the Twin Towers, right? And when you go to the site now, to see where the tower sat, you could look into the two squares, and I promise you, it look about 8 to 10 stories down. Right? What am I saying? The higher you go, the deeper you got to dig in terms of the foundation, because that foundation has got to support whatever it is that you're about to build. And you said it in your thing. This is the phase that required the builder to be very meticulous. This phase required no room from foolishness from anyone who was involved. The foundation is important because no matter what you're doing, you're building a house, you're building a skyscraper, you're building a relationship, you're building a business, there will come a point in time where you're going to face difficulties and challenges. And whatever you built, it has to be able to weather. Because, come on.
When you said that word weather, this jumped out to me immediately. Right out the gate, I'll make this disclaimer because I realized and I think I did say this in the first chapter. Everybody doesn't believe in what everybody may not believe in what we believe in or what I believe in. We may not believe in the same God. So and I'm gonna bring the spiritual component into it, but I'm gonna leave it out for now. But I got a quote when Jesus said, one person builds his house on the rock, one person builds his house on the sand. And then the weather came and beat against that house. And he says the inclement weather, as I should say.
Yeah.
So then I did say this in the book. It doesn't become a matter of if we believe in the same thing. Because here's one thing's for sure. Let's just, for those argument's sake, for somebody that's listening or watching now and say, oh, here he goes on this Jesus thing. Well, let's just remove Jesus out the picture. Let's remove the biblical principles.
Can I add this before you remove him? Can I add this just before we remove him? I know what you're doing, just for argument's sake. The word also says that every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess. And this is why that's important. You don't got to believe what I believe, but there's some things that you can see for your own two eyes. Some of us fight the truth just because we want to be rebellious or just because we want to do what we want to do. That's all fine and good. But with every decision we make comes a price. You got to pay something. So if you refuse to build your house on the rock and you build it on the sand, just look at the two. Which one you think is going to hold your structure sturdier? Because sand, wind blows, and that's, water comes and washes, and then it erodes. Okay, so when another storm come again, how long you think it's going to be before that joker come down like a house of cards?
Case in point that it doesn't even matter. Like it matters what you believe, but even if you say you don't believe, one thing we do all believe in, you believe in inclement weather, rain,
no doubt,
floods, winds, tornadoes. And for you to sit there and try to say, well, I don't believe in that. Well, you just going to be standing by yourself, because there's probably every person standing on the planet Earth knows that rains, floods, winds, and tornadoes and inclement weather exists. So now it's not a matter of if we believe in the same thing. It's a matter of what are you going to build on? Because he says one's built on the rock, one built on the sand. And when that inclement weather does come, it's not a matter of if it's going to come, it's when it's coming. And when it comes, what is your foundation built on? Why? Listen, man. And foundation, I said, it doesn't have to always be something physical that we can see or feel, because now I want to move into this emotional aspect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because we always think when we say foundation, automatically sometimes we have an image of materials and structure, and that's good to have. But let's move into this psychological and this emotional standpoint of it. You know, we're dealing with, this is a natural part. We're dealing with emotional intelligence. That's, you know, how we perceive and understand and manage our emotions, because that becomes part of the foundation as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So all right, I'm just going to use your stuff, right? Let me go back to the book. In the book, I'm just going to use your
I
stuff.
mean, I need it too. Let me
In your book, you said if the deal felt right, it was concrete enough for me to move forward. Notice I said if the deal felt right. It didn't matter if the deal or relationship within the deal was going to take me off track, set me back, harm me, or potentially kill me. As long as it felt like it would be a great thing to do, I was all in. You just said emotions, right? What I realize about emotions is that they should definitely be considered or definitely paid attention to, but they should never be put in charge. In other words, they should never be put in the decision-making seat, because something feel good and look good don't necessarily mean it is good. There's a difference between hurt and harm. When I go to the gym and, you know what I'm saying, I'm back on my workout game, but when I get under that bench or when I do them isolated dumbbell presses, they don't feel good, fam. They don't feel good. Do they hurt me? Yes, they do hurt me. Will it harm me though? Mm-mm. Right? It won't harm me. If anything, it'll make me better on the back end. If I sit on the couch all day and eat potato chips and hamburgers and cookies, will it hurt me? Mm-mm. Will it harm me later on? Yeah, it will harm me. And I get carotid or arteries, and you know what I'm saying, stuff that's setting up a situation for a heart attack. So there's a difference between hurt and harm. And we do what we do emotionally in terms of look good and feel good because it's what's familiar to us. And we like what's familiar to us. And what's familiar to us ain't always good. So case in point, from a cognitive standpoint, when those ideas of what look good and feel good to us, they come through at the back of the brain, at the base of the neck, in terms of how we process information. Then it passes through this thing called the limbic system, right? And then it goes to the frontal lobe where we make all of our decisions right here in the front of our brain, right? The funny thing about the limbic system, it's the same place where emotions sit. So it's easier for us to feel before, or not easy, we feel before we actually think about what we're feeling. So no wonder why people get jacked up. So if we're not intentional and deliberate about taking a step back and saying, okay, I know what I feel about this particular thing, but let me really and thoroughly examine what it is that I'm about to do before I do it. Because if I do it and don't think about it and it look good and it feel good, let me tell y'all something, heroin feel good. And I ain't telling you from me because I never experienced it. I was never a wild boy like that. You know what I'm saying? But I've spoken to people who say like your first hit on it, like for real, it's like an orgasm magnified 12 times, but it's never the same after that. That's why they keep chasing. I say all of that to say it feel good in the beginning, but it's bad for you on the back end. It robs you of everything you like, for real, just of life, period. And some of us, we make decisions as it relates to relationship. She got the 36, 24, 38. She got a nice little job. But what you don't know on the back end is that she a hellraiser. And you get into relationship with her because you made the decision off of emotions and not really. And then the other stuff, you know, the whole physical boy blinds you, and you feel me? But know that understanding who I am emotionally plays a big role in my decision making as to who I'm going to enter into relationship with. If I'm not paying attention to who the individual is, if I'm not aware, present, right, and self-assess who I am in that situation, like for real, the outcome can be disastrous.
You know, that's why I'm just gonna go ahead and go down this lane, man. Like we live in a society. I don't even like to say generation anymore, because a lot of times people that are older or younger, we want to put it on a specific generation. The
Mhm.
society we live in now is filled with so much foolishness in
Oh,
terms of what you should build upon.
bruh.
You got it coming from social media, you got it coming from music, you got it coming from so-called gurus. Let me make this disclaimer. This man Quest that you're seeing and you guys are hearing right now, I know for a fact he's fortified and has been through the fire. Is he perfect? No. He's an imperfect man serving a perfect God, though. This man Jamel Jackson that you're looking at, I didn't start doing this yesterday. I've been through the fire, man. A lot of times we're giving our ear to individuals who haven't been through any fire. And I always say my first objective as a relationship mechanic is to point you vertically to God, and then horizontal. So it's vertical, then horizontal relationships. And a lot of times we're building our foundation on horizontal relationship, on once again how I feel about I need my mom involved, I need my kids, I need my friends, and I'm not saying to neglect horizontal relationship, but first it must be vertical. I did an interview with a wonderful lady. I want to say her name, by Teresa Smith, and she used this term, our ego gets involved. And she says, and then she has that acronym for ego as etch God out.
Yep.
And so we etch God out of the scenario, meaning if he's not involved in the foundation building, am I saying it's going to be easy? No, but if you exclude him out the foundation building, and now I search for my foundational tools on social media, I'm not saying that you can't find wisdom on there either. But remember, foundation is such as an idea or principle. So what is the idea and principle that you're getting from this social media or from this particular avenue or particular person? And what are you checking it against to see if it's even, if it even has longevity in it?
Yo, what's the name of the dude who taught you how to do all the construction work? Jackson, right?
Daniel Humphreys.
Daniel Humphreys. Oh, that's right. Daniel Humphreys. And he would say to you, and I'm right from your joint, right
I
from
know
your
what he would say. I know what he would say.
measure twice, cut once.
Measure twice, cut once.
Right? You're smarter than the wood. You wrote every intricate detail had to be precise. So I was constantly reminded to be conscientious of my decisions. In life, when we tend to build relationships on whatever we deem to be fitting for the moment, right? We have not taken the time to pick a site and investigate the conditions of the soil.
Mm.
So all of those different things go into play, right? One of the things that got me bent the first time I did this whole thing, like I'm telling you, bro, I was married in 2003, divorced in 2005, and I went through almost 18 years of hell dealing with her because she just wanted blood. Locked up twice behind some foolishness, like for real. We dive deeper into that in a whole nother podcast. But I promise you, you know why I got what I got? Because I was looking for the 36, 24, 38. Then when I was looking for the woman of God, God told me, that's not what you was looking for in the beginning. You're looking for the woman of God now, but that's not what you chose. You chose 36, 24, 38. So that's what you got.
Mm.
So now when life is hitting you, right? And okay, when you don't, I've seen builders build homes that the foundation wasn't right. And then after a couple of years, you go through the house, it got cracks in the wall. You know what I'm saying? The structures, you know what I'm saying? They doing the Cupid shuffle and stuff because the foundation wasn't solid. It wasn't set properly. So it might, even before you set the foundation, you got to make sure the soil is right. Because one shift in the soil and the foundation tilt to one side, guess what it's going to do to that house? It's going to shift the framework. And if the framework shifts, the sheetrock going to crack. We haven't taken the time to do that. So when we get what we get in relationships in terms of difficulty and challenge that God don't introduce, the stuff that we created, right? Then we get what we get. My story, case in point, when I got what I got on the back end, I didn't have the woman of God because that's not what I chose in the beginning. I was concerned about and what I learned is that what you said there, you got to do your due diligence. You got to have conversations. Do me a favor, stay away from sex while you dating. I know it's the unpopular thing to say, but the truth is the truth. I can't, you know what I'm saying? Like for real, stay away from it, right? Because it clouds your vision. when I properly investigate, when I properly do my due diligence, just like you did, my man did when they were checking the soil, making sure the soil was right, making the foundation. There was no room for foolishness in this phase of the building. This is probably the most important part of the whole thing, because anything above it, we can shift, take out, do whatever, and fix it. Foundationally, though, if the foundation ain't right, it's almost as if you got to tear the house down and rebuild the foundation all over again. I know technology got some stuff that they need to do now, but why not do it right and do it right the first time?
And I made that disclaimer for people that may have done that, have built this large building, built this this relationship for a certain amount of months, a certain amount of years, that you might have to go back and do an architectural review and say, you know what, we got to tear this down. For somebody maybe listening, like, oh man, I'm already done. No, you're not done. You might have to tear it down and go back to the foundation, get some assistance, get some tools, get some mentors, get some counselors, get some coaches in your life, some significant people in your life with wisdom, and say, you know what, we can restore this. We can, you know what you got? Because here's the thing. I remember that my aunt's house was leaning, and my uncle, you know, he kept coming by. He would walk on the floor in the living room and be like, man, something's off. You know, the house was already built. The foundation was solid. I mean, the foundation was already established. He went outside and he started to examine the foundation. Come on, Quest. He started to examine the foundation. Why he's a guy that understands construction. He understands building. So he goes around, he starts examining the house, and he said that some of the cinder blocks had cracks in them. And that they were sinking into the grass, and that they were sinking into the grass because there was a certain way that the ground was leveled, and when it rained, the water was just seeping under to the bottom to the foundation of the house, causing the bricks to crack and causing the bricks to sink, and therefore the house is leaning. So maybe you may have built it wrong, or the builders built it wrong, or whoever you got your wisdom from, you built it. And now you need an architectural review. You may need to check in with your pastor, with your coach, with your leader, with your mentor. If we have those in our lives, this is why those particular people are so crucial, especially when you're building, or if you already built it on your own wisdom. Like, you know what, I got this. I could do this.
Do the knowledge now. Now, this is where it come in dope, because what you said before is that you don't have to believe what I believe. But the truth of the matter is, you know that relationships run into trouble. You know that they do. You know that at some point in time, y'all going to bump heads and something's going to happen. The question is, did you do what you needed to do in terms of the building of the foundation of this relationship, such that when that difficulty and challenge comes, you got what you need to navigate through it?
Facts.
And it's a lot of people who caught up on what y'all driving, what you living in, what he do for a job, how she look, how she fit in her dress, all of these other different stuff. If they laugh at your little jokes, if the chemistry is there. But the truth of the matter is, you got the chemistry, but you don't got the compatibility. And that's bad for foundation.
I need you to expound on that.
Yeah. So
have the compatibility.
So the chemistry is the thing that is very surface, that happens in between the two of you, right? And so, you know, we like the way we feel around one another. You know what I'm saying? I like the way you look. I like the way, you know what I'm saying, you kiss me. You know what I'm saying? I like the way that it feels when you hold my hand. Like, it's a lot of energy popping between the two of us, but that energy ain't always going to be there. The challenges and the difficulties going to come. And when they come, the question is, are you compatible enough to navigate? See, anybody can have chemistry. Your NBA team, like, for real, they could have the dopest chemistry. The question is, can y'all come together and really do what you need to do when the times get difficult? Or are y'all going to fight and quarrel or be ball hogs or whatever the case may be? It's compatibility that makes things happen, not the chemistry. The chemistry is just the icing. I can build chemistry out of compatibility. I can't build compatibility out of chemistry.
Say that again, brother.
I can build chemistry out of compatibility. I can't build compatibility out of chemistry.
I'm about to go somewhere with this, because we talk a lot about foundation. Let me say this. There was a comment that a relationship person made. I'm not going to mention his name, but he's well known in the relationship
Arena.
lane
Yeah.
in our time frame right now.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about him. Everybody brags about him.
Mhm.
He made a comment and he said that, and I wrote it down. He said, "We don't know how to do marriage." He said, you know, and it's a valid point that he made, but he said our grandmothers and our grandfathers, they knew how to do marriage. They were married long time, you know, 30 years, 40 years. Our society now doesn't know how to do marriage. And I believe for those who desire to be married, the reason we don't know how to do it is because the foundational point. And a lot of these I want to make this disclaimer, Quest, man, because a lot of these guys that are and women that are delivering these messages on relationships, I believe they're giving some wise counsel. But Jamel Jackson, I believe in the author and the finisher of our lives. So let me just put this out there right now. When God is not involved in your foundation, I don't care how much, if I get on my podcast and I just talk about all these great principles and practical things, of course, they're going to benefit you. They're going to help you. But I got to mention the author and the finisher of life. If God is not involved, it's only a matter of time. Once again, the inclement weather and the rains and the storm, when that comes and beats against your relationship, that's the main stability that's going to hold it together. People may say, well, okay, if that be the case, why do people go through divorce and why does this happen? These things do happen, but once again, we have to examine the foundation.
Do the knowledge, Jay. Who built the 325i? I'm talking about the car. Who built the 325i or the 5 Series or 3 Series? Who built that?
See where you going?
BMW, right? If we're talking about the 911, Porsche built that. If we're talking about the Passport, Honda built that, right? If we're talking about, you know what I'm saying, the IS3, Lexus, right? So when anything, if I got a 3 Series or a 5 Series, if anything go wrong with it, I could take it back to BMW and say, yo, this was the deal about, they could hook it up to their machines. Like if I take my 3 Series or my 5 Series over the Porsche or over the Honda, they're going to be like, yeah, we didn't make that. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what to tell you, right? What I found out, or what I not found out, what I know is that God created marriage. So if anything go wrong with it, I can take it back to him. There's no way for me to operate in this thing, and something will go wrong. Mm-hmm. If I get I just got a Wrangler. If anything go wrong with the Wrangler, I know who I can take it to. I can take it to Jeep, and they're gonna know exactly what to do. Right? There's not gonna be ever a time where anything go wrong with that car, right? Because something's always gonna go wrong with it. I gotta be able to take it back to somebody in order to fix. And I need to take it back to the people who created it because they know what they created. How can you operate in marriage created by God where you know stuff gonna go wrong and you're trying to do it without him? Like, I say it to people all the time. I don't know how people do marriage. I don't know how people do life without God. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many challenges and difficulties. Who do you go to? What is your reference point? How do you navigate through when the challenges come? Or you just suppress them only for them to, y'all know what happens when you, like, this is why I always say that men need to learn how to become a little bit more vulnerable in their relationships, because when pressure build up in a pipe, it's going to bust. Mm-hmm. So to your point, I don't know how people do life or marriage without God. I don't know. Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. When you said the word men, this jumped out to me. In relationships, even in terms of building a foundation, every man needs a man over them. I know that's going to hit some men hard because it's like we men and we strong and we masculine and ain't no other man going to tell me what to do. I'm telling you, 40 years young on this earth, every man needs a man over them. Every woman needs a woman over her. And I'm not just saying any type of woman. I'm talking about a wise woman, a wise man over him or her to tutor and counsel and coach and guide you. And like you said, when there's something wrong with the product, outside of me, of course, taking it to the maker of the product, I have another man to lean on and say, you know what, Quest, I've been trying to do this. I went to God, I consulted, I ain't really hearing nothing. But what's your insight on this? or a woman having another woman to go to. This is very vital to what you're building. Instead of just trying to build on the foundation of what your peers are saying, not to say that they don't have advice and wisdom, but even after I check with the people that are my peers, I need to go to somebody that's over me, that has seasoned, tested and tried and true this information.
Okay. So you talking specifically to the maintenance. Once you build something, it has to be maintained.
Mm-hmm.
Like the siding on the house needed to be replaced. We just had that replaced. The roofing just need to be replaced. We replaced the roof. Why? Because the house has been here for a number of years. And with it being here for a number of years, you know, the beatings that it's taken from hail and rain and all that other stuff, it has to be maintained. Your relationship will take hits. It has to be maintained. There are things that you need to do. Come on, ever so often, Jamel, my wife, because of what she does here in the house. Listen, can y'all watch these kids call my parents? Sometimes we call my parents and fly them in, and they come stay here at the house. Let me take my wife away from this place for a little while. She needs to decompress. Maintenance, bruh. Why? So that she can go properly recharge. And when we go on vacation, wherever you want to do, wherever you want to go, that's where we're going. And you enjoy yourself to the fullest. And then when we come back, she's ready to do it again. And after a couple of months, we go, listen, push out. It became so real to me, this maintenance thing that you're talking about right here, that when we were in Mexico the last time, a couple of weeks ago, we were there for this for Phenomenal Life. A lot of times we go to resorts, we don't never buy the packages because we just like whatever. This last time, because of what they presented us and because of what I know I need for my wife, I bought me a vacation package. So ever so often, I could take her and do. Why? Because we got to maintain.
What you saying that word maintain, what would you say to someone who has been doing the maintenance? They built on the solid foundation, the wisdom of God. Mm-hmm. Because I believe what also happens is in a relationship, you can have people who do not endure. And one person will give up and say, you know what, I'm tired. I don't want to keep doing this. It may not even be that something happened. Or maybe something did happen. Maybe somebody did step out of the relationship. And now the person's like, you know what, I've been trying. I've been going to the counseling. I've been doing the coaching. I've been applying. And my disclaimer out the gate is because a lot of times, you know, the church, I'm not saying the church is a bad establishment. The body of Christ is amazing. Will say, you know, just stick it out, keep staying there, keep doing it, keep pushing. And this person's applying all the principles, applying all the wisdom. And their partner, whether it's the man or the woman, is like, you know what? No, I don't want to do this, or I'm stepping out and I'm going over here to entertain this other foundation because it looks more sturdy than where we are.
Mm-hmm. I would tell folk, because really and truly, I'm not going to tell you that I got all the answers, Jay, because I don't. I will tell you, based on what I know, though, is that with every decision that we make, there's an outcome. And if you can honestly tell me that your spouse is doing everything that they're supposed to be doing in your relationship, but you just don't want to do marriage no more, and they doing everything that they're supposed to be doing, you got a disconnect going on somewhere. Mm-hmm. And you can, the Bible says all things lawful, but not all things expedient. You can make that decision. The question is, will it yield you the outcome that you want when all of this is over and said and done? Because some people are in marriage right now and you're blessed and you got favor, even in the midst of the difficulties and challenges. Why? Because y'all are sticking it out. Y'all are fighting together, and God is teaching you something through your challenges and your difficulties if you're paying attention. Mm-hmm. But if you bounce and there's no reason for you to bounce, you could legit mess up your blessing and favor and curse yourself. Now you can go ahead and make that.
Let's do this. Let's go. Yeah. Since we in this lane, before I bring in this next point, let's be transparent with the people, because I went through divorce. You went through divorce. Mm-hmm. And so I like to be transparent with this. I was married 11 years. Was the entire marriage horrible? No, that would be a lie. Mm-hmm. We had remarkable years. I've been divorced for 3.5 years now. You've been divorced. So people may be watching this or listening to this and say, well, how can they talk about this foundation and this principles and the strength and the
Let's
weather coming and beating against the house and architectural review and maintenance and great ideas and succumbing and overcoming and building on the rock and building on the sand and God is this and God is that and experience the divorce? Why didn't you apply that wisdom to your own scenario?
let me read something from your book.
Okay, let's go.
And you were talking specifically to um, just making decisions based upon what you saw on the surface. Right? Because really, this is all around the idea of foundation and making sure things are right from the jump. You said, the fool said it's cool as long as he or she is fine, as long as the company compensates me for my time. This should surely last forever. I mean, she or he did give me the best sex I ever had. The company is paying me more money than I ever had. I know he or she cheats every now and then, but the sex is the bomb and all my financial needs are met. I know the company I work for pours toxic waste into cities' drinking water. I know the mission statement of the business goes against everything I stand for, but I got bills to pay. The word of God declares that there are ways that seem right to a man, but death is the end thereof. The word of God also says, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul in the process? When I chose what I chose in terms of my wife, she looked good. I'm talking about when it's time to get dressed, she dressed. When it's time to get fine, she get fine. I'm telling you, she used to look official. But when we would get into arguments, it used to be knocked down, drag out. To one point, like she raised up her hand at me, and I had to put her put up on the wall and be like, yo, you ever put your hand on me again, I'll kill you. That's when I knew. At that point, I knew, like, love ain't supposed to stress you out. Love is supposed to give you freedom. And at that point, I realized what we had wasn't love. We had lust. What is lust? Lust is an insatiable desire for anything that does not edify you, build you up, or take you to the next level.
Yeah.
It's a lust for undesirable things. And what I realized is that me searching for the 36, 24, 38, right? When life hit, and it did hit, as it will always, what I needed in terms of a wife wasn't present because of what I was looking for. No wonder we ended in divorce. We weren't compatible. I was looking to move into one direction, and growth was the direction. Even though I didn't go about it right, I always knew inside, like, I wanted to be better. The question is, I tried to get to better without going through the process properly. When we do the growth thing, or when we try to get to the next level, whatever the next level is for you, and we do it our way, it's not established. Hence the reason why I said this is why I don't understand how people do things like without God, how you live life and do marriage without God. You know what you want your marriage to look like. You know what you want your life to look like. You know what you want to drive, what you want to live in. And God is saying, I want them things for you too, but I want your soul to prosper just as much as I want you to prosper, if not more. When you do it your way, it ain't established. But if you do it my way, not only is it dope, but it's established, meaning nobody can take it away from you. It can't be messed up because you did it my way. And when you do it my way, it's sound. That's why the whole argument of foundation is important, because if you start with God and you build with God, then it's firm. But if you build doing it your own way, you could be building up with one hand and tearing down with the next.
I want to say this. You said start with God, but also let me add this to that. When we start with God, just for people that's listening or watching, don't just start with God.
No, stay.
Get your beautiful foundation, get your amazing man or get your amazing woman, and then say, thanks, God, I got it from here.
Maintenance, but that's the thing though, Jay, because after you build it, it has to be maintained. If you built it with God, how you going to maintain it with somebody else? God gave you the blueprint. And when it's time to maintain, you talked about earlier on bringing those people in. And all right, but the thing I love about Fixer Upper, like Chip and Joanna Gaines, is like, I'm major fans of them too right there. I'm a major fan. If I see them, I might legit cry. You feel me? Like, I'm a major fan. What I love about them is that when they're rebuilding a house, a lot of the times they look at the old blueprint. They look at the old blueprint to see the structure of the house and how they're gonna, and if they don't have the blueprint, they want to see who built it before. They want to go in and see the framework to see what they did in here before. Because, okay, we can't remove this from here because this is a load bearing wall. So we can do that, but we're going to have to put beams in here to support this. Why? Because this is a load bearing wall. How you going to build what you build in terms of relationship and then say, okay, God, when it was him that you built it with? It has to be maintained. And if it's going to be maintained, then I need to be with you who built it with me. And you have no plans to go nowhere because your word declares I'll never leave you nor forsake you. So if I want to maintain this, the beauty and everything, and if I want to get the upgrades, because God got a dope way of doing the upgrades, you feel me? Why am I going to go with somebody else? I'm going to keep you in the mix.
I believe it's amazing for people that may be on the edge and contemplating, even after listening or watching this and saying, well, it's over for us. Or my girlfriend, my boyfriend, they doing this, my husband, my wife, they do it's there's no way. Here's the thing. When we let me just say, as a man, when we develop that relationship with God, or even with wise tutors and counselors who have God's wisdom, he'll begin to upgrade your thinking. He'll give you new strategies.
Word up.
On how to please that woman, or vice versa. If it's the woman, he'll give you new strategies and techniques. Or like you said, now when you do the vacation, you like, I'm getting the whole package because it's maintenance right now. I'm getting the whole package. But here's the thing. This dropped in me last night because I knew we were going to be talking about foundation. And we talk, that's underneath. I said, what's underneath is important, but what's beside and on top is just as important and still vital to what you're building. And then I got the definition of walls. I knew what walls were. Walls carries a load, provides security, shelter, and soundproofing. So just as much as what we're building on, these walls are important. These walls are important for security. They provide security. They keep things in and they keep things out.
You're talking about boundaries now.
Go. We got a little more time, but I knew when I wanted to put that in it because a lot of times I know we talked about this foundation, but I thought last night I said the foundation is very important. But not only is the foundation important underneath us, but what's beside us and on top of us.
You in essence are talking to boundaries now, because boundaries keep the good stuff in, but it keeps the bad stuff out, right? And so much more. With every wall in the house that you have, there's a door. It's not just a room with a wall. Every wall in the house has a door or a walkway that allows you to move from. And if I don't want certain people in my room, then I close the door. And if I want certain people in my room, then I open the door. So we have the opportunity, even your front door, your gate, you have a way to let the good stuff that you want in, and the bad stuff, you close the gate and you don't allow that stuff to come in. When we are in our relationships, in our marital relationships, boundaries are so important. I can't tell you the amount of couples that I coach where, you know what I'm saying? There was one couple one time where the husband was drinking. And like my man just used to get belligerent with it. And I, like, for real, I told him, like, yo, dude, what you want in terms of an end result in terms of marriage, because of course we went through the whole question dialogue, and I said, then you need to stop this thing right here because it's becoming an issue for your wife. My man used to get drunk and then he'll say stuff to her like, nice dress, they didn't have it in your size. And I should be like, my man, I was like, did you say that? And he was like, I don't even remember. Of course you don't remember because you was bent. It got to the point where I had to explain to her that boundaries are important. You don't get to tell him you need to stop drinking and you need to, and you better, like, no, because that now is control. And you're trying to control my man. Boundaries are set in place for you and for your purpose, right? Boundaries are much more about self-control than they are about controlling anybody else. So you don't get to tell him he can't drink no more, but you do get to tell him when he drinks and he gets drunk that I will leave the house or you can no longer live here. Remember what boundaries are. You keep the good stuff in, you take the bad stuff out. My man, they were separated for about a year, year and a half. Would you know that they ended up getting back together? Because she created a boundary for herself, like that is not acceptable here. And either you will leave or I will leave. But that drinking cannot remain here anymore.
And these walls and boundaries are connected to the foundation. The walls carry a load. Nehemiah built, I don't even know if I should go there, man. We got 5 minutes. I'm gonna do it because I know when I do it and I'm talking to who I'm talking to. Nehemiah, for those who don't know, one of the great characters out of the Bible, was looking at the city, his people, as I'm looking at my people right now.
Yes, sir.
We're going through it, and the walls have been falling down. The walls have been destroyed. He wept to the king and said, look, let me go. Please let me go restore the walls, my people's wall, the security. Everything's getting in. It's destroying the families. It's destroying the youth. It's destroying it's destroying the marriages. It's destroying the relationships. Everything's being shot at. They burnt it down. The enemy came and destroyed it all. The family is done. Yep. The business been broken down. He goes to the king and he says, look, let me go. Please let me go restore the walls of Jerusalem. Let me go rebuild the walls around my people so they can have that sense of security again. These walls are going to be designed to carry a load.
That's a word.
And if the walls are not there, then that means the people are carrying a load that they weren't designed to carry. The family's carrying a load. The woman, the man, the kids, somebody in that picture was carrying a load they were not designed to carry. And so Nehemiah, with his insight and oversight, says, you know what, king, he goes to the king. Symbolic in our times, he goes to Jesus, he goes to God and he prays. He says, look, let me go. I'm going to go. I know it's going to cost me my life. He already had all types of enemies that said, look, if you come over here and try to rebuild this wall, you come over here and try to restore this community, this city, this nation, these relationships, these marriages, these families, you dying.
Yep.
Nehemiah said, and the king said, you go ahead and go. And I granted him all the things he needed, all the materials. And he goes to work on the wall. And then he finds other compatible soldiers or people to go with him. Listen, Quest, this thing that I'm doing right here, the relationship mechanic, focus on rebuilding, evaluating, and giving you the tools you need to maintain healthy relationships. People need to listen and listen clearly when I say this, because when I say tools, I'm not just talking about physical objects and steps and programs and assessments. When I'm talking to my brother Quest Green or talking to my brother David Shands or a lady like Teresa Smith or whoever I bring on my podcast, these are tools, people.
Yeah.
And these are people that's willing to stand and help me build the wall. And they're building a wall, and I'm willing to stand by them and build the wall. It says these people who stood by the wall with Nehemiah, they had their sword in one hand and they were keeping watch as they're building the wall. Because even as we're building and restoring relationships, you better know that the enemy's coming.
Yeah.
Outside voices are coming to say, you know what? I don't like him rebuilding that family. That family's supposed to die in that position that they're in.
Yeah.
I don't like him restoring that man, that woman. These walls are important just as much as the foundation is.
I want people to pay attention to what you're saying, because basically what you're saying is that we're suffering in our communities, in our churches, in our families, in our marriages, in our relationships, in our finances because of our inability to set boundaries. Mm-hmm. Remember what a gate around your yard is, right? Or a property line. It shows me what belongs to me, where my property ends, and what doesn't belong to me, where that begins.
Yeah.
Right? And with people, you're experiencing what you're experiencing in terms of loss and pain because of your inability to set boundaries. I'm gonna say it one more time because I want that to sink in. Everything that you just said speaks to our inability to set boundaries. The minute that you set boundaries, you're gonna have some folk that's angry. You're gonna have some folk that's disconnected. And let me talk even within marriage. Your spouse may get angry with you, but they will surely, sooner or later, realize that that boundary that you put in place is because of love. I'm protecting the home that we built. And if I don't put this boundary in place, what I'm going to do is to continue to allow that behavior to happen. Boundaries, like I said, keep the bad stuff out and the good stuff in. And the minute that there's a bad thing, I have the right as an owner of this relationship to ask that bad thing to leave. Why? Because it's going to destroy the integrity and the character of what we built.
Listen to this. For security and shelter, boundaries, these walls, they also carry the load. And we can close with this word right here. They're also used for soundproofing. Soundproofing, because there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of sounds that we're hearing in our day and age, whether it be the news, whether it be mom and dad, whether it's friends or so-called associates, or there's a lot of noise. But these walls are used also for soundproofing. So certain things that I hear that may destroy, they're going to impact my foundation. They're going to impact how I build. So these walls, these boundaries are being set also for soundproofing, meaning I can't listen to everything I want to listen to just because I hear it.
They also block what you see and smell. They also block what, you know what I'm saying, comes in your mouth or leaves your mouth. You know what I'm saying? They block what comes. Okay, let's say you're in the house because you said it's soundproofing, right? But it's soundproofing to an extent because you could hear an accident, and I'm talking strictly to the eyes. Can you just look over through the wall? No, you'd have to get up and go to the window to look over and see, right? I'm saying all of that to say that what you just said is important, because we need to have boundaries in order to protect the avenues to our soul. What are the avenues to your soul? Your eye gate, your ear gate, your nose gate, your mouth gate, your touch gate. Certain things we're not supposed to touch. Certain things we're not supposed to put in our mouth. Certain things we're not supposed to smell, see, hear. I ain't gonna front. When people smoking weed, sometimes my mind immediately goes back, and I smell it. My mind immediately goes back, Jay, to the times where I have to burn it down. And so I can't, not that I can't, because I know who I am in God, but I don't want to be for too long in environments where they burning it down. And that's why what you said in terms of a sound barrier, like for real, or an eye barrier, whatever barrier we need, that's what the boundaries do. They keep the good stuff in, the bad stuff out. So I protect all the avenues to my soul. Because when it gets in your soul, come on, now we're going to have a whole nother conversation. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Word up.
The Value Podcast, man. Listen, Quest. Here's the thing, if you guys were listening, you guys were watching, there was some tools given. I believe it's going to bless somebody. If you guys want to get with Quest, where can they find you out? Outside of the video, they can see your Instagram right here, but what's the places where they can locate you at, man?
Oh, man, you can locate me at my website, www.jquestgreen.com. You can find me on Facebook at Quest Green. You can find me on YouTube. I'm constantly putting out content on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter at Quest Green, YouTube at Quest Green. And then of course you see me IG right there. Come and follow the kid. Quest _Green. Yeah, that's the handle on IG, Quest _Green. But yeah,